Fox News just cut away. Fox News cut away right as he said it, literally. I am done pulling any punches with Donald Trump. It is time to call him out as the terrible human being that he is. Now, I am annoyed because he just took the stage in North Carolina and immediately made a joke about Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, nearly being beaten to death by a hammer in his own home. And Trump has made jokes like this many times in the past, but this one was especially annoying. Not only because I recently read Nancy Pelosi's book where she details how traumatic that was for her entire family. She has 5 children and I believe she said 9 grandchildren, and it all shattered their lives. Paul Pelosi hasn't been the same since, and he is traumatized, and it was all made worse by Republicans making jokes, spreading conspiracy theories, being nasty, and it's all a top-down movement from Donald Trump. But this also makes me mad because Republicans tried so hard to gaslight us into thinking that Democrats are responsible for this political violence after Trump was almost assassinated, even though I have the proof, I have the receipts that I will lay out throughout this video that Republicans have notched up the tensions in America ever since Donald Trump entered politics. Really, ever since Newt Gingrich was the Speaker of the House, he used a lot of bombastic rhetoric. But let's not waste any time. Let's break down Donald Trump's North Carolina rally. Before we even dig into the Nancy Pelosi, Paul Pelosi stuff, we have a lot to talk about there. I want to play this clip of Donald Trump talking about election fraud because this issue is important to me. All that I ask is that you leave a like on the video below and subscribe to the Mockler channel.
Look, if we can keep the cheating down to a minimum, because these people cheat, they cheat like hell. If we can keep it down to a minimum, we win easily. If we had, let's say, a beautiful vote counter, an honest person comes down from on high to count the votes, we win. I could stop campaigning. I could tell Michael and Laura I don't have to come anywhere anymore. I'm just going to relax but we have to win, you know.
The most dangerous part is that he tries to crack jokes throughout his authoritarian rambles. But I just want to say, Donald Trump is a projection machine. And I'm not just saying that as a talking point. Every time he talks about VP Harris using notes during her interviews, that's because he said that he uses notes as well. That's something he would do. Every time he says that I'm not a puppet, they're a puppet, that is him projecting. And when Donald Trump says that Democrats are the ones that are cheating, it's because Donald Trump tried to prove that the election was stolen. He went through 60 different courts. They all said no, and that was fine. But then Donald Trump tried to steal the election through extra legal means by pressuring election officials into finding votes, pressuring Mike Pence into choosing a fake slate of electors. So Donald Trump is projecting in this clip, and again, there is zero evidence of election fraud. How the hell does somebody who has spread so much fear, so much distrust, and so much disinformation still have so much power in America? It is a complete failure of the Republican Party. And honestly, a lot of it is probably Russian propaganda. Definitely Russian propaganda. Let's move on to Nancy Pelosi. Donald Trump said, quote, Nancy Pelosi has a big wall around her house. Of course, it didn't help too much with the problem she had, did it?
Force anarchy on the American people while they live in safety, in many cases behind walls. You know that? Nancy Pelosi has a big wall wrapped around her house. Of course, it didn't help too much with the problem she had, did it? But she had a big wall wrapped around her house. But then she says, we don't want to, you have no idea what it was for.
And this is the exact moment that Fox News began to cut away and use the talking head presentation style because they wanted to block what Donald Trump was saying. They don't want a repeat of the Dominion lawsuit. At this very moment, Fox News was like, we cannot show this anymore. Also, this is counterproductive to Donald Trump's argument. He's saying that Nancy Pelosi's wall didn't work. Also, I shouldn't even give credence to his argument. What he's saying is disgusting and is incredibly escalatory. Everything that this man has said since he stepped foot into politics has been terrible, but Paul Pelosi is in his 80s. He is an old man who almost lost his life. He will never be the same again. He had to get a prosthetic hand, and Donald Trump goes on stage and says, where's Paul? Where's Paul? Which is absolutely disgusting. Let me go and show you this post that Donald Trump Jr. made that actually makes me even more mad. He said, got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready. And Donald Trump Jr. said, OMG, the internet remains undefeated. So what's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Well, this tweet from Ben Yellen says, "Effing disgusting that he still makes jokes about Paul Pelosi nearly getting bludgeoned to death. When Trump was shot, every Democrat condemned what happened. Both Biden and Harris called to check in on him. How can people in good conscience support someone so morally bankrupt?" And that is absolutely true. It's not just Donald Trump. It is a top-down effort from the people around him to just sow distrust in all of our institutions. That's what really makes me mad. I say that a lot because when I go to these MAGA rallies and I ask them, do you trust the FBI? They say no. The DOJ? They say no. Do you trust Mike Pence, Bill Barr, Mark Meadows? They say no, no, no. They don't trust anybody except for Donald Trump. He comes above all else, and that was very intentional on his part and on the part of his surrogates. Donald Trump then claims that VP Harris can't even study for her debate or prep for her debate because MAGA people are screaming outside. If so, then that means they are lunatics, but this isn't happening. This is another part of Donald Trump's demented schizophrenic ramblings. Listen.
She's right now practicing. Do you know that? She's in Pennsylvania, and she's practicing for the debate. She's locked herself in a room. She's got a lot to learn. She's locked herself in a room, and they have one problem. You know what the problem is? They have MAGA people outside screaming, "We love Trump, we love Trump, we love Trump," and they can't focus. Can you believe it? Just came over. They got MAGA people all over the place, and they're screaming, "We love Trump," and she can't focus. That's okay.
All right, can I just show you guys what Donald Trump is referring to here? So Jack Posobiec, who probably is paid by Russia too, said, "Breaking, a Trump flash mob just appeared outside the Pittsburgh hotel where Kamala is doing debate prep." And this is the flash mob. It's literally 8 people.
Let's go Trump! Let's go Trump! Let's go Trump!
All of the dumbest people from your high school class congregating in one place holding Trump flags. And I said, only a Russian plant would call this a mob, but called the January 6th insurrectionists a peaceful group. I have a beef with Jack Posobiec. He's a terrible human being, like everybody in the MAGA world. And here's the clip of Fox News conveniently cutting away as Donald Trump makes these Nancy Pelosi remarks.
On their shoulders have watched helplessly as their communities dissolved all around them. Kamala Harris and the radical liberals force anarchy on the American people while they live in safety, in many cases behind walls. You know that? Nancy Pelosi has a big wall wrapped around her house. Of course, it didn't help too much with
former President Trump speaking.
Fox News just cut away. Fox News cut away right as he said it, literally. That is absolutely insane to me that they run defense for him like that. I mean, it shouldn't be insane, but just watch that.
Nancy Pelosi has a big wall wrapped around her house. Of course, it didn't help too much with
former President.
Or it might not even be them running defense as much as them wanting to save their own asses because Donald Trump is making threats to politicians on national television, and that is the state of American politics. That is the state of Donald Trump 2 months before the election. He spent the first half of his day defending himself, sort of, against sexual assault allegations, and the second half of his day basically verbally assaulting a woman. So